Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tips. My name is Julian and this is the Week 8 Injury Report video. We recently had a lot of players coming back from injuries, which is really great. We had Jack Hughes and Drew Doughty come back on Tuesday night, and we saw McKinnon and Drake Batherson return on Wednesday night, which is just great news overall. A lot of players coming back from injury, and it looks like there's going to be a lot more players coming back shortly. Let's jump right into it. So we're going alphabetically by team. So first on the list is Ryan Getzlaf, who got hurt in the game that I watched last night. And I'm not sure if he's going to be okay or not. There's not really an update that has been released just yet for Ryan Getzlaf. So hopefully he ends up playing the Ducks' next game. But as of this recording, I don't really know how long this ailment is going to keep him out for. Next, I got Casey Mittelstadt of the Buffalo Sabres. And according to their head coach, Don Granato, Mittelstadt may be available to return this week during that 2-game road trip. That's Thursday or Saturday. If he's available in your league, he could make for a sneaky ad given how strong he finished the season last year. Next is Craig Anderson of the Buffalo Sabres, and he's still week to week, so there's not much else to report there other than he's probably not returning this week, probably not returning next week. I'm not holding out hope for the immediate future for Craig Anderson. He's an older player. He's above 40 years old, so they're going to want to give him the time that he needs to rest up and really heal from this so it does not happen again. Next are Tony DeAngelo and Brett Pesce, who were both placed in COVID protocol. So potentially it could be a false positive and close contact, so they both could be back soon. Otherwise, they'll both miss probably 10 days-ish, which puts them on track to be activated December 9th. I'm not sure if they have symptoms at this point, so it really depends on COVID. It's case by case with every single COVID case. Until that time that they return, Jacob Slavin's actually playing on the top power play in Carolina and makes for a pretty good ad. Next is JT Compher of the Colorado Avalanche. Should be back mid-December-ish. He's currently practicing already with a non-contact jersey. But honestly, guys, you should drop JT Compher because when he comes back, the Avs team is already basically completely healthy. So Compher is someone shouldn't be owned because he's going to be a third liner. Next is Pavel Francouz of the Colorado Avalanche. He's on a conditioning loan in the AHL right now, which is a very good sign. As soon as he's done with that, he's going to be rejoining the team as the backup, and Jonas Johansson, who is a very bad backup, will finally not be the backup anymore, which is really good news for Colorado Avalanche. He could potentially make his first start in about 2 years in the NHL. During Colorado's current 5-game road trip, it's definitely a possibility, so stay tuned. And Compher has not been the strongest goalie this year, so Francouz may actually see a good bulk of the starts. Next is Patrik Laine, and on November 3rd, he was given a timetable of 4 to 6 weeks. He's been skating on his own, so it looks like it's going to be on the long end of that window, unfortunately, so expect Patrik Laine back around December 15th. As for Ben Bishop, there's nothing really new on him. I know he practiced with the team like a couple weeks ago, and I don't really know how much he's progressed since then. There hasn't been a whole lot of updates on Ben Bishop, but the fact that he was practicing is a very good sign, so he could definitely rejoin the team at some point, maybe even during the month of December. Next is Darnell Nurse, and Darnell Nurse could actually be back this week. Thursday would make 2 weeks, and he had a 2 to 3 week timeline from his injury. So he has been skating on his own before practice only, though. So it does seem like he's not going to be ready this week. It seems more likely that he's going to return late next week at some point. Next is Mike Smith, and on November 19th, they diagnosed him with a broken finger, and he was going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. That puts him in a return somewhere between December 3rd to 17th. So expect him back some point in that interval. Next is Gustav Forsling, and he was just recently injured, and he is week to week. So don't expect Forsling back in your lineup until at least mid-December, and honestly, guys, he's droppable. Next is Matt Zuccarello, and I don't know really what's going on with Matt Zuccarello because he was not supposed to miss any time at all. The coach said the day that he got injured that he could have continued to play that game, but he didn't because it was a blowout. But then he missed the next game, and then he missed the next game. So I'm not really sure what's going on. You got a slash on the hand, so hopefully there's nothing major there. It's hopefully just a bruise, and they're letting it heal. They're just being extra precautious. I'm hoping that it's that. So hopefully Zuccarello is back this week. Then we got Carey Price of the Montreal Canadiens, and he's in a long rehab program. So I don't expect him back until at the very earliest mid-December, and hopefully it won't be too much longer than that. Next is Mike Hoffman, and he could be back this week at some point, but another update has not been released since last week when they were saying that he could be back this week. So I don't really know what's going on with Mike Hoffman. Hopefully he will rejoin the team for their next game. Next is Ryan Pulock, and he was given a timetable of 4 to 6 weeks as of November 17th. So that gives him a return date somewhere between December 15th to 29th. So he will be back before the start of the new year, but not necessarily very much before that. Next is Anders Lee, and he's been on the COVID list a while, so it does seem likely that he will return Thursday when the Isles face the San Jose Sharks and come off their 2 games that were canceled due to COVID reasons. Next is Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders, and on November 23rd, he was given a 2 to 4 week timeline that puts him for a return somewhere between December 7th and 21st. He's definitely droppable in all but the deepest of leagues, though, so if you don't have the IR space, Brock Nelson is someone you could definitely just drop off your team, because honestly, the Islanders have not had a really good season this year, and they have not been producing offensively. Next is Ryan Ellis, who on November 18th was given a timetable of 4 to 6 weeks. So the return date would be somewhere between December 16th and December 30th, so just before the new year. Next is Bryan Rust of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and all we know is that he's week to week, so don't expect him back before mid-December at the earliest. Until then, Evan Rodriguez is doing a great job playing on the top line in Pittsburgh. Then I got Evgeni Malkin. He's practicing finally, which is absolutely great news. Practicing in a non-contact jersey. So give it until mid-December at the very least, and he should be back in your lineup, hopefully before the end of 2021. Next is Mark Giordano, and he was placed on COVID protocol on November 27th. So like I said with COVID, we don't really know how long a player is going to be out. It depends on their symptoms, depends on a lot of different factors. So right now I don't have a return date for you, but until then, guys, Vince Dunn, playing top power play, hasn't been doing half bad. Next is David Perron, and he has missed a couple of games now, but he is day-to-day, so hopefully he's back this week. It looks like he should be. It doesn't seem like a super serious injury. It has been labeled as day-to-day, so I'm not too worried. Until Perron returns, Robert Thomas is someone you could definitely grab, because Carew is playing on that top line with O'Reilly and Shen right now, and all those guys are way too highly owned to probably be available in your league. So if you need a replacement, Robert Thomas is someone who's getting a lot of points on St. Louis and has a pretty good role right now. Next is Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning, was set to miss 8 to 10 weeks on October 27th. So that puts him to return somewhere between December 22nd and January 5th. Hopefully that's what ends up happening, because Kucherov is someone that you definitely need back in your lineups. You drafted this guy really high, and you need him to be playing for you. Next is Brayden Point, out 4 to 6 weeks as of November 23rd, so hopefully he comes back before the new year. At very worst case, the long end of that spectrum would be January 4th. The lower end of that spectrum is December 21st. So somewhere between those 2 dates, he should be coming back. Next is Petr Mrazek. Right now, Jack Campbell's having an amazing season in Toronto. So even when Mrazek comes back, I'm not sure how much of a workload he's going to get. They paid him a decent amount of money, so he will get some starts for sure. It'll be a little bit more than the back-to-back starts, but Campbell's just been awesome this year. So he has been practicing for a week or so, but he will not be returning until he does a conditioning sit in the AHL. So you do not have to worry about activating him until he has that conditioning stint in the AHL. So once that happens, Mrazek should be almost ready to return, and that should be happening very soon. Next is William Karlsson. He's expected to be back mid-December at the very earliest. It might end up being longer than that, though, since he's still apparently in a walking boot. Next is Alec Martinez of the Vegas Golden Knights. Had a pretty scary injury with a facial laceration, but he's likely only being kept out right now due to concussion symptoms. So as soon as those go away, Martinez should be back in the lineup. And you never know with concussions how long these things are going to last. So it could be a game, could be another week, could be another 2 weeks. We don't really know. Until then, guys, Nicklas Hague is someone you absolutely want to add in your lineup. As long as Martinez is out, he's someone that is seeing power play time and has been playing pretty well. Next is TJ Oshie, and he's eligible to be activated ahead of Washington's next game. But Washington's being very hush-hush about all their injuries, and I don't love that. And it's making it very difficult to know exactly when their players are going to be returning. Oshie, specifically, though, should be returning pretty soon. If you need someone to replace him, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, Alexi at Protas. Protas is a guy who is playing on the top line and the top power play in Washington and actually playing pretty decently. Next is Nick Backstrom, still skating in a non-contact jersey. So there's still no set timetable for him to return, so don't expect him to return until at least mid-December. Until then, Lars Eller is the second-line center in Washington. And last but not least, Justin Schultz dealing with a UBI. He's eligible to return as soon as Thursday's game versus Chicago. But again, Washington, they don't release anything on their injuries, and it's really frustrating. But until then, Orlov and Dennis Cholowski are playing second power play where Justin Schultz was playing. So if you're desperate, you can pick up one of those guys. Orlov definitely prioritized over Dennis Cholowski. But if you're insanely desperate in an insanely deep league, Dennis Cholowski is someone you can consider. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.